Welcome to SportsBeat KC, the Kansas City Star's daily sports podcast. It's Monday, January 30th, and I'm Blair Kirchhoff. The Chiefs are Super Bowl bound, and so is all of Kansas City and Chiefs fans in spirit. It's so because of the 23-20 dramatic victory over the Cincinnati Bengals on Sunday in the AFC Championship Game, and we're talking about it on today's show. Beat writers Herbie, Teope, and Jesse Newell joined me for a post-game discussion on a SportsBeat Live show, and you'll hear that discussion in podcast form. So much to discuss, so much, in fact, it's going to take us 2 weeks to get it all in. So if we don't cover the topic you're interested in this show, rest assured you'll be hearing Chiefs from us throughout the next couple of weeks. Okay, let's get started. And we recorded this about 2 hours after the Chiefs' victory on Sunday. Good evening, or maybe good morning, from Kansas City and Arrowhead Stadium. This is SportsBeat Live. This is the show where we talk about the Kansas City Chiefs, and we're doing it a few hours after their 23-20 victory over the Cincinnati Bengals in the AFC Championship Game. Please join us with your questions and comments and talk to Herbie, Teope, and Jesse Newell, along with myself. We'd love to talk about this game with you because there was a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss. And let's start off at the top. Chiefs are going back to the Super Bowl, third time in 4 years. They're going to play the Philadelphia Eagles in Glendale, Arizona, 2 weeks from today. And Super Bowl 57, I believe, we're up to now. So, Herbie, I'll start it off by saying the Chiefs never trailed in this game, and yet my confidence factor in them winning was never really high until Patrick Mahomes got pushed out of bounds at the end of the game to get the penalty. That's my quick thought. What's your quick thought on the Chiefs winning this game tonight?
I tend to agree with you because I'll go ahead and for full disclosure purposes, now that the game is over, but I'll let the folks know I did not pick the Chiefs to win this game. I actually thought the Bengals were going to win it. And then when, late in the fourth quarter, when the Bengals got the ball back with just a little bit more than, I think like 2 minutes left in the game, before they gave it back to the Chiefs. Yeah, I was like, well, here comes the game-winning field goal. Their kicker is going to do it 2 years in a row, kick the game-winning field goal, but it didn't turn out that way. I tend to agree with you, Blair, that I wasn't confident at all, even when they were trailing, but I actually thought the Bengals were going to eventually come out on top, and it didn't happen. Mahomes happened. Harrison Butker happened. The sideline penalty happened. Skyy Moore happened. There were a lot of things that happened there that contributed to the Chiefs' win.
Yeah, for sure. All right, how about your quick thoughts, Jesse, and then we'll get into some specifics.
Yeah, ye of little faith. You Blair and Herbie both picking the Bengals in this game.
Let me just say right off the top, I was with Herbie on this. I thought coming in the Bengals were a better team, and I was just overwhelmed by their performance at Buffalo last week. So I had picked the Bengals as well. But you did not. In your picks, you pick officially for the Star, you had the Chiefs winning. Not covering, but winning.
Well, I had them covering too. They were only favored by one, so they basically, if I picked them to win, they had to be covering in that particular game. But never in doubt, guys. Come on, never in doubt. But no, Roy hit it on the head. What a redemption game, right? I mean, this is why sports are such great drama. I mean, how many storylines could we have wrapped up in this one final game to send them the Super Bowl? Like Skyy Moore returning punts. Guys, Skyy Moore didn't think he was going to be returning punts this year. He returned
ever again. Ever again.
Yeah, I mean, he said, I kept practicing him. He was the fourth-string punt returner coming into today, and they need him because they're 3 guys down, and he returns over 29 yards and puts them almost in field goal range. I mean, we talk about Harrison Butker went through his struggles, along with Tommy Townsend holding. Perfect on kicks. We talk about Joshua Williams. Okay, Joshua Williams, he has like one tweet the whole year. It's about how he was disappointed himself after the last Cincinnati Bengals game because he gave up that catch over the middle. He gets the interception out here. We talk about Chris Jones, never had a playoff sack. He gets 2 of them, and then the biggest one of the game to turn the ball back over to the Chiefs. I mean, you just go down the line here. Patrick Mahomes lost his mind last year in the AFC Championship game, the second half against the Bengals in this building. He leads them down the field and hobbles down the field to get them that first down crucial at the end to get them in field goal range. I mean, it's like we always talk about these storybook endings, but you literally almost couldn't have pulled a character out of the Chiefs book today. It did not get set up for a moment today for them to be the quote unquote hero. And that's how these Chiefs worked. And they stuck together in tough times. Obviously, they let that game last year motivate them for this year. They were beat up. They were, as Eric Bieniemy always says, they dragged their ass to the finish line. He always uses that quote with us. And I mean, there is no better indication of this game of a team dragging their ass to the finish line than the Kansas City Chiefs down 3 receivers, Travis Kelce hobbling, Patrick Mahomes hobbling. I just saw the next gen stat that Patrick Mahomes hadn't got above 14 miles an hour on any run in the postseason. He got to 18 miles an hour on that scramble. I mean, that just personifies this team, and so many unlikely heroes, but they all came through tonight. That's why this team's in the Super Bowl.
Well, a lot of great comments and a lot of folks identifying different areas that helped the Chiefs win. But I made my star of the game, Chris Jones, for all the for all the players, Jesse, that you just named. I thought Chris Jones had the type of game tonight that Aaron Donald had against the Bengals in the Super Bowl last year. Which, by the way, the Bengals lost by the score of 23-20. But not only with his 2 sacks, including the incredibly timely one at the end that forced the Bengals to punt to Skyy Moore, but his just constant pressure on Joe Burrow was top-notch stuff. I mean, defensive player of the year type of game for Chris Jones, and happy to see him get his first sack. I know after the game he said, getting his first playoff sack isn't meaningful to him. It's more meaningful to the media that keeps bringing it up. Heck, it was meaningful for Chris Jones, and it came in the biggest game of the season for him. And he's one of the players that wasn't hobbling or, on the injury list. You got full strength Chris Jones in this game. And it's just, Herbie, it's just a great way to, I can't say cap because there's another game to go, but what a great moment for Chris Jones. I don't want to say it's the best game he's ever played, but it may be one of the more memorable games he's ever played.
Absolutely. And also memorable because this gives them phenomenal momentum to go against another quarterback in Jalen Hurts. Look, Jones as well as Frank Clark set the tone early. Frank Clark got him off with the sack, and then Willie Gay split a sack with I think it was who did Willie Gay split that sack with? Was it Jones or Clark?
Clark.
It was Clark. Yeah, so they split, and then Chris Jones gets the sack. Karlaftis gets the sack. 5 total sacks on the game. Chris Jones finished with 2 of them, as well as a team-high 5 quarterback hits. He was dominant, like you mentioned. It reminded me of Aaron Donald. That was that kind of a defensive performance where an interior defensive lineman takes over a game. And that's what Jones did today, and that's why he's an all-pro.
Yeah, real famously, Aaron Donald pointed to the ring at the end when he clinched the game against the Bengals last year. Yeah. If Chris Jones has his performance next week, he can start pointing, I guess, maybe to the other finger to get his second ring. But yeah, the end of the halves, and we've been talking so much this year about Chris Jones just being the closer for the Chiefs. The very end of the first half, a key play, I highlighted this on Twitter with the video that's out there. He bowls through 2 guys to get Joe Burrow with that play with 8 seconds left, makes him throw it early, incomplete pass. That's 3 points instead of 7 points. That's a huge play in the game, and that was a huge momentum changer as well. But then just the smarts and how they use him too. He hadn't really been on the outside. KU guy, Hakeem Adeniji, I'm just being honest. Like, he was drafted in the NFL as kind of a swing guy, right guard, right tackle sort of guy. With all the injuries, he was moved out to right tackle. He struggled today, man. Like, he was the weak link in the chain. So if you go back and watch the video, guys, him and Carlos Dunlap are talking before the snap about who's going to be on the outside, who's going to be on the inside. They almost switch. And instead, Chris Jones stays on the outside. We know he did that last year. The start of last year was kind of the failed experiment, if you will. But he stays on the outside and stays up against Hakeem Adeniji and just immediately beats him around the edge. So we're talking about the moves. We're talking about, the intelligence, being able to beat a guy, and then also saving something in the tank for the end. Because for much of the second half, look at the D-line was kind of, wearing down a little bit. And this was the crucial possession of the game. So for Chris Jones to deliver, again, just the closer for what the Chiefs have been. How many times has he gotten a sack in a crucial situation? It's been a lot. And I'm here to tell you, Blair, he can talk about the media all he wants to. that's a big deal for him to get the postseason sack. You play 12 games or whatever, and you don't get those production. You don't get those numbers. We know he's taking double teams. We know all that, but he needed to do this to solidify his legacy with the Chiefs, and he came through in the biggest of moments.
The other big thing that he thought about it is during his game press conference, what did he tell us? All through the offseason, he dedicated it to this game because of what he didn't do against the Bengals in the last one, and that was take down Joe Burrow. I just found it fascinating that, when he finally came out and said that this entire offseason was dedicated to this moment, and it was his redemption as well. We talked about redemptions earlier. We talked about Harrison Butker, Skyy Moore. Chris Jones's redemption is making up for last year not getting to Burrow.
Blair, I think you were there. I mean, it was crazy. In June in OTAs, it's one of the first assignments I covered. Chris Jones comes to the podium, and we're just asking him normal summer questions. Unprompted, he says, my whole motivation this offseason is I should have gotten Joe Burrow down twice on sacks that would have won the AFC Championship game last year. I mean, again, this is 7 months ago. You set this thing up. He plays Cincinnati on this field, same game, same AFC Championship game, and he delivers. I mean, that's like one of 6 redemption stories we're talking. I don't even think I brought it up to start off the show here. So, I mean, it really is an amazing storybook type of game, and it sort of leaves you down in the locker room kind of almost scratching your head like, well, which one do I want to go with here? Because everything came to the conclusion today for the Chiefs. Obviously not the conclusion because they played the Eagles in the Super Bowl, but a lot of things came together, a lot of storylines kind of tied up with what the Chiefs were able to accomplish today.
Evie Craig points out special teams and defense. I'll tell you, Evie, one thing that I really like about the way this game ended was think about the sequence of big plays that led to the Chiefs win. It was Chris Jones starts with the Chris Jones sack, continues with the Skyy Moore punt return, continues with Patrick Mahomes, finding a little bit of an opening and scrambling to go out of bounds, and gets pushed for the penalty. And then, of course, the Butker field goal. Defense, special teams, offense, special teams. They all made a major play in the last minute of the game to win this game for the Chiefs. Chiefs got the ball back with 30 seconds to go when Skyy Moore finished his punt return. I think it was 30 seconds. So defense, special teams, they all contributed in this one. Who was it who pointed it out? Also, how many rookies in the secondary played today? Well, they all played. And what kind of game did they have collectively, Jesse? It was pretty impressive stuff from the McDuffie and Williams and Watson and Cook. I mean, these are Chiefs don't win the game if these guys don't have the games that they have. And then they lose L'Jarius Sneed in the first quarter. So tip of the cap to the youngsters in the secondary.
Yeah, I remember training camp, and we were talking just big picture storylines on the radio, just like, hey, what have you gained from this? What have you learned from this? And I remember the one thing I said was, this rookie class, this is not normal. You know what I mean? Usually you draft 5th or 6th round guys, you cut them, they don't make the team, they don't pan out like you thought. And they were just so high on all of them. I mean, it was crazy. We always heard about Pacheco early on. That was like the fantasy football darling from the very start. And every national writer who went to Chiefs camp came away and said, you got to watch this Pacheco guy. But now you look, I mean, Jalen Watson developed over the course of the year. Joshua Williams, I said earlier, he had his toughest game against Cincinnati last time. He comes away with the interception. Brian Cook gets beat on the out and up, even though it's a really perfectly placed ball by Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase that puts Cincinnati in position to come back in this game and tie it up. They go to that same out and up route. What happens? Brian Cook gets his head around, tips the ball up. Joshua Williams gets the interception. Again, one of the biggest plays of the game. So you're talking 2nd round pick, 7th round pick, 7th round pick. Karlaftis had a sack. You add him in there. Obviously, Trent McDuffie has solidified their secondary. So it's an amazing thing. And I do want to speak to also like what the Chiefs have rolling here, because like this doesn't happen if Brett Veach thinks something and his front office thinks something and Andy Reid thinks something, and those things don't all come together. Because I think you see other teams, this happens, or it happens when you got to get a change in tenure where you have this 2nd round pick from the previous tenure, you have to trade him for a 7th round pick because they didn't fit the new scheme, all those sorts of things. But there has to be this sort of cohesion to be like, we believe in this guy, and because we believe in this guy, the coaching staff believes in this guy, because they believe in the guy, they develop him. And all of that has come together for the Chiefs in a really amazing way and a very short amount of time. So, all the props go to that. I mean, they kept all 10 of those rookies. They're all on the roster right now. And as you said, Blair, I mean, you can go up and down the line of the contributions that they made in this particular game, and a huge reason why the Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl.
Herbie, Roy asked about injuries. We usually start off the show talking about them, but because the Chiefs won, we didn't do that. But now is a good time to bring them up, a bunch of them, and contributed to the narrative of this game. The players that were leaving the field and not coming back. I mentioned L'Jarius Sneed, and there's Kadarius Toney, and that was a big loss for the Chiefs. That really changed, I think, what they were trying to do offensively. McCole Hardman was back, and now he's gone again. What did Andy Reid say much about these injuries after the game?
He just basically found out what was announced during the game. I mean, we know that Snead suffered a concussion. He did not return. We know that Toney had an ankle injury. What Andy Reid said was it was a tweaked ankle injury. Willie Gay had the shoulder injury. Juju Smith-Schuster with the knee injury, and McCole Hardman aggravated his pelvic injury. What that did, you talk about Toney and then also Hardman, that's a domino effect because they also didn't have Justin Watson. And this, of course, it goes back to the redemption storyline. It helped set up Skyy Moore because, I mean, at one point, the Chiefs were down, 2 wide receivers. So, their MVS was the guy who had to step up, and then, hey, kind of a redemption story for him. Everybody was saying, when is MVS going to emerge? And he picked a hell of a time to emerge in the playoffs.
Hey, Marcus Kemp caught a pass tonight.
Marcus Kemp wasn't up last week, guys. He wasn't up last week, and he was playing receiver for them tonight. He caught a huge curl route in the fourth quarter. I mean, and amazing. He's a 4. He does all the 4-4 on special teams, so he provided that and had a big block on the Skyy Moore return too. But talking to him in the locker room, I mean, you think about just how much has to happen to get Skyy Moore on the field as a punt returner. I mean, can you imagine, Justin Watson has to have his illness, sickness. Kadarius Toney has to go out with some sort of injury. McCole Hardman has to be out. Goodbye. And then you get to Skyy Moore, who gets the 29-yard return. Same thing for Marcus Kemp. He's got to be sitting there thinking, okay, I'm my core 4 guy. I just got to focus on all the special teams. What has to happen to get him on the field as a receiver in this game, much less as many snaps as he got? I mean, Justin Watson soaked up so many of them, but then you lose Kadarius, and then you lose Juju Smith-Schuster. I mean, all of a sudden you're looking around and going, well, you need a receiver. Well, I guess Marcus Kemp, who was not up last week, gets to be the receiver, makes a big catch for the Chiefs. So, yeah, the game had drama and it had some big plays, but I mean, it's sort of, again, this one sort of reads better as a book than it does as a chapter, I think. You know what I mean? The game wasn't amazing. It was dramatic, but what's amazing is if you followed this team from the beginning, if you followed this team from June, if you followed this team from September, if you know what Skyy Moore felt like after he fumbled in the Rams game, which he told me in the locker room. He said that the coaches came up to him and said, we're taking you off punt return. And he goes, no, I'm taking myself off punt return. I don't want to do it anymore. I mean, that's what you're talking about. A guy like that had a 30-yard, 29-yard punt return to basically win the game. I mean, it's amazing stuff. So, this is the one they're going to soak in. It's just, you go in the locker room and see those guys. And, I know Skyy Moore was kind of lounged back at his locker and, I mean, kind of head back. And it's almost like you can't believe it. You can't believe where this story took you, where it started and where it is now. And a lot of guys were like that in the locker room. And I think that's kind of the feeling of relief and joy and ecstasy that the Chiefs feel right now to be able to survive that game and beat their long-hated rivals.
Chaz asks what the third down redo was like in the press box. Well, it was nuts. We were all trying to figure out what the heck was going on and why the Chiefs got another snap out of that. There was I don't have it with me. There was a quote from the official about that play. Turns out the Chiefs, even with the break, couldn't cash in. They ended up punting it away, right? And but that did cause a lot of questioning and confusion in the press box. And I know on social media it blew up.
Yeah, I think there was a wide angle that showed the official trying to come in. So I think once you have him out of position and showing that he was trying to stop the play, I don't really know what other circumstances they have. I mean, it's just you sort of try to make the best of a bad situation, because if it was just a clock issue, which was what we thought at the time, like, okay, just subtract 10 seconds or whatever it was supposed to be, and then make it fourth down. But because the official was out of position on the field, came in to basically blow the thing dead because he saw the clock, you got to go back to the start, I guess. And that's what they ruled. And as you said, the Chiefs actually got a pass interference call on that play, so they got a fresh set of downs, but ended up punting later. So it was dicey for the Chiefs. You mentioned it earlier, Blair. I mean, for a game that the Chiefs never trailed, there were some definite dicey moments toward the end there, and punting it back to Burrow and giving that offense a chance to go win another one at Arrowhead, that was among the top of those.
When you talk about that play, though, Blair, to me, it just highlights one of many NFL officiating snafus throughout the entire season, not just with the Chiefs games, but league-wide. And I think something like this cannot happen in a postseason. This is an NFL playoff game. This is the NFL's AFC Championship game. You got to have your top-notch officials in there, and they got to run a tight ship. Something like that should not happen in a playoff game. Preseason, yeah, let it happen in the preseason. This is the playoffs. We're talking about the playoffs.
Well, it'll all get cleaned up for the Super Bowl with Carl Sheffer's crew in Glendale. So nothing to worry about there. You know, the Chiefs' possession that I absolutely hated tonight, was their last possession of the first half when they, after the Watson interception. I think I've got the sequence right. The Chiefs take over at the Bengals 39 and go incomplete, and give the ball back to the Bengals before the 2-minute warning. Bengals go right down the field, 90 yards in less than 2 minutes, and kick a field goal to make it 13-6 at halftime. God, I was like, this is Zach Taylor going to outcoach Andy Reid here tonight? I was really angry about that possession and thought what a wasted opportunity that was. So anyway, I would have written about that if the Chiefs had lost tonight. That and the Mahomes fumble, which was that also gave the Bengals, I think they got a touchdown after that, right? Short field touchdown from that. Those were the two Chiefs possessions that were, didn't belong in this game. And look, didn't the Chiefs come out with a great game plan in this? I mean, didn't they? They came out ready to go. I would rather have seen touchdowns and field goals early, but they were the team that was, seemed to know what they were doing, had a good game plan. Chiefs defense came out, played great. But one of the reasons, Herbie, that I think you felt this way too, that I was never really comfortable with this is the Chiefs, like I said, they were getting field goals instead of touchdowns. And when they had an opportunity to take 2-score leads, they didn't do it. They kept the Bengals close. But give Cincinnati credit. It's a terrific team. They're going to be around for a while. This Chiefs-Bengals, and throw the Bills in there too. These teams are going to be in the upper half of the AFC and Super Bowl contenders every year. Did you guys have a moment in the game that you questioned or was really bothersome to you?
I guess I'll take it.
Take it.
The Mahomes fumble backwards just reminded me so much of the Kelsey fumble in the previous game. The Chiefs had control. It felt like they were driving. It felt like they were going to score. It felt like they were going to go up 2 scores, and then this weird thing that you just don't expect. I mean, did Travis Kelsey fumble the rest of the year outside of the Cincinnati game? I don't think he did. And has Mahomes lost the ball? And it's almost like I don't even know if you blame Mahomes. The ball just slipped out of his hands. It did make me wonder. I talked to Tommy Townsend this week. He talked about a lot of this to make the field look really nice. There's a lot of paint that goes on it, and the Chiefs were on the Arrowhead logo for that particular down. And talking to Townsend, he said he wore gloves last week to hold. He said part of the reason is that paint sometimes makes it a little bit oily. It kind of makes the ball a little bit slick. So we've just never seen that from Mahomes this whole year. I mean, he's been so secure with the ball. He hadn't fumbled. He hadn't lost a fumble all year, I think, until that one. If I'm not
correct, I think that's right.
With that, he hadn't lost a fumble. So it's just so out of character. But you look at the advanced box score, and that's a 6-point swing. I mean, the Chiefs going on the 40-yard line of the Bengals going to score, and you give it up, and then the Bengals have the ball around midfield. It's basically the biggest play of the game until the fourth quarter is that particular play, and it felt like the Chiefs were, kind of in control, and then all of a sudden it's 2020 again, and you get the nervous energy in the building. So, that's, in the ways I'll raise my hand and say I was wrong. I thought the Chiefs' run game would be more of a factor this game. It was not. They really couldn't run the football. So I get the frustrations on the pass, and maybe not running any clock, but the Chiefs' run game wasn't working. And honestly, the Bengals' run game wasn't working, which is something else I didn't expect. So I thought these run games would play more of a factor, but really, in the end, it was all we talked about. Special teams, defense, and then passing and or Mahomes running just in these crucial situations when they needed him down the stretch.
Yeah, Dylan weighed in, wanted to know where the running game was or why it was struggling. I think we all want to know that. I thought that was going to be important, as you said, Jesse, just to keep Mahomes protected a little bit more, that he wouldn't have to – what did he end up with, 43 pass attempts? My thought coming into the game was establish the running game, get the ball out of Mahomes' hand quickly, keep him protected with his leg. We saw it for the first time in the third quarter, him hobbling after a play. I think it was a completed pass when he had to roll out to his left and threw back against his body. But he goes to the sideline hobbling, and I'm thinking, oh, here we go. Chad Henne is going to end up finishing this game, and but Mahomes stuck it out, hung in there. We'll devote time this week to the game that Mahomes played. Statistically, not the greatest game, but maybe his most courageous game as a member of the Chiefs. We'll never know until he writes his book how hurt he was or what kind of limitations he had. But there were times, and I don't know if the TV cameras always caught it, him hobbling and limping a little bit, especially in the second half. But between that and Kelsey's back, we don't know how bad that was. The players who left the game and didn't return, playing against a Bengals team that looked great last week, that was incredibly motivated and very talented. This, to me, will be remembered as one of the great wins in the Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes era of the Chiefs. So, guys, I'm going to wrap it up with that because I know you got more work to do. I've got more work to do, and it's late. But watch us this week. We're going to be on a couple of times. We'll send you the times that we're going to have shows and podcasts and everything else for you this week. And the coverage in the Kansas City Star and on kansascity.com, best you'll find. That'll do it for today. Shout out to George Howard, who produced the podcast and the live stream show, and to our SportsBeat KC staff of Jeff Rosen, Scott Chasen, Monty Davis, and Randy Mason. Tip of the cap to Herbie Teope and Jesse Newell for sharing their insights. Hey, the best coverage of the Chiefs is on kansascity.com, and there you can access the morning sports edition. It's loaded with content about the Chiefs, the NFL playoffs, and so much more. Check it out at liveedition.kansascity.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back soon with another SportsBeat KC, where we talk sports in Kansas City every day.